Today we're moving on. We're going to do the exact same thing that we've been doing, which is solving systems of equations. But today we're not going to solve it by graphing. So yesterday and the day before, how did we solve the system? We graphed it and then we found the point where they what? So what I'm going to tell you is it doesn't matter how you solve it when you get to the EOC. But I am required to teach you how to solve it each way. This is the way probably most 8th graders don't like to do it because it's very time consuming. But it's called substitution. It is important for you to know this because on the EOC they will ask a question about solving by substitution. Okay, so it's not that I'm just teaching you this for fun. All right, so let's get started. To solve by substitution, what are we looking for anyways when we're solving a system of equations? What are we looking for? What's our answer? Where they intersect. Very good. So we're looking at the point of intersection. We can also say we're looking for the point that satisfies both equations. So whatever I need a coordinate, an x and a y, that satisfies this equation, but also satisfies this equation. Do y'all understand the point of today's lesson? Okay, when you do it by substitution, the first thing you want to do is isolate a variable. So write that over here. The first thing I want to do is isolate a variable. I don't care if you isolate the x or you isolate the y. It doesn't matter to me. You pick which one's the easiest, and that's actually what they'll ask you on the EOC. Which one should you isolate? Which one should you get by itself? So everybody look at this first example, and the reason we spaced them out so much is because you can show all your work. These are your two equations that you're trying to solve the system. Which one would you use to isolate or is already isolated? Say it. This one. It is already done. The y is by itself. Do y'all understand that? So don't make it hard on yourself and try to go over here and isolate something. Just use this one. What you're going to do is this is telling you y is equal to what? 4x. So what you're going to do is you're going to come over here and you're going to plug in 4x for that y. I'm going to say it again if you don't understand. You are going to substitute in what they're telling you y is. What are they telling you y is right here? 4x. All right, so you're going to take that 4x and you're going to substitute it in for y because they're telling you y is 4x. Do y'all understand? Okay, so I'm going to write 3x minus, and instead of writing y, I'm going to write 4x equals 1. What you're going to do now, look at this equation. There's only one variable, right? I had two variables here, so I couldn't solve it. I had two variables here, so I couldn't solve it. But now what can I solve for? I can solve for x, and that's what I'm going to do. So what is 3x minus 4x? Negative 1x equals 1. How am I going to get rid of this negative 1? Divide both sides by negative 1, and I get x equals, you just found the x value. Now you have to find the y. So you're going to take that answer and you're going to substitute it in for that x. Okay, so I'm going to plug in negative 1 for x, and what is it going to tell me? The value of y. So I'm going to do y equals 4 times negative 1. Well, what is 4 times negative 1? So I have found x and I have found y that satisfy both equations. So my answer, negative 1, comma, negative 4. Is there a way to check your answer? Yeah, you could go graph it and see where they meet, Or could I go put these in y equals? Let's just say I realize, man, I'm not really good at this, but I'm really good at putting them in y equals. Could I go check them in my calculator? So I'm going to show y'all how to do that. You don't have to do it right now. But I could go to y equals, clear everything out. I could type in y equals 4x, and I would have to change this to y equals. Are y'all with me? So I'll just do it on a sticky note so I don't put it on my paper, but I have negative y equals negative 3x plus 1, y equals 3x minus 1. So that's what I would type in my calculator. I just rearranged that, right? This is just a way for you to check if you're worried. I could go to second trace, option 5, wait for it to graph, enter, enter, enter. Did I get negative 1, negative 4? Yes. So that is a way to check your answer if you're worried that what you did was wrong. Okay? Are y'all good? All right, go to example 2. Are one of these equations already isolated, or are both of them? Both of them are isolated. So I could take this and plug this in for x over here, or I could take this for y and plug it in over here. And I'm going to tell you which one's the easiest, is the one that doesn't have a plus and minus sign. But does it matter which way you do it? No. I'm going to take this and plug it in for what? Yx. Because it says x is 2y. So I'm going to take this equation and I'm going to plug in 2y for that x. So I have y equals 2y minus 2. Does everybody understand why x is now gone? Does anybody need an explanation? Because that's the most important part, that you're understanding why we're doing it. Okay, can I solve for y? Do I only have one variable over here? So I can solve for y now. How would I move this over here? Minus 2y. Whatever I do to the right, I got to do to the left. That's gone. What is 1y minus 2y? Negative 1y equals, bring down my negative 2. And how am I going to get rid of that negative 1? Divide by negative 1. So I have y equals positive 2. Now I'm going to take that answer, and what am I going to do with it? I'm going to go to the other equation and put it in for y to solve for x. Okay? So I need x equals, and I'm going to plug y is 2. So I'm doing 2 times 2. And 2 times 2 is 4. So I found my x and y value, so I go, my answer is 4, comma 2. Could I go check this in my calculator? Yes, but what would both of these have to be in? Y equals. And so it's just more work, but it is a way to check your answer.
Can we try the next one on our own?
Speak up.
Can we try the next one on our own?
Yeah, absolutely. But I'll get y'all started, okay? Well, the next one's kind of challenging because you're going to have to do distributive property. Let me do the next one with y'all, and then y'all do the next one on your own, okay? All right. Look at the next one. Are any of these already isolated?
No.
Left or right?
Right.
This is left. This is right. Which one?
The left.
The left has the x by itself. So x is 2y minus 3. So I'm going to plug that in for what? Oh, yeah, y'all can try this one on your own. It's not distributive. I thought it was. Okay, so I'm just going to set it up and then let y'all figure it out on your own from there. So instead of this x, I'm going to put this. 2y minus 3 plus y equals 3. So y'all want to try it from here? Okay.
It's just like solving an equation, right?
Yeah, so you're solving for y. Okay, so far you should have y. Yes or no? Okay, so you should have done 2y plus 1y, which is?
3y.
Okay, and then how would I move this over here?
Positive.
So plus 3, which is 6, and then divide by 3, which is 2. Did everybody get that far?
Yes.
I did 60 divided by 3.
Oh, well, at least you knew what you did wrong. Okay. Did everybody get that far? Now that you have the y, what are you going to do?
You plug it in for the y.
I'm going to take this 2 and plug it in for that y so that I can solve for x. So I have x equals 2 times 2 minus 3. So x equals 4 minus 3, which is 1. So my answer is 1, 2. Okay, I'll let y'all solve the next one on your own, but I'm going to help y'all get started. Are either of these isolated? I need everybody with me. Not one of them says x equals or y equals. Are y'all with me? So you have to choose which one of these would you isolate.
The right side.
Really?
Yeah, that's all you have to do is divide by 3, right?
Yeah, but is that going to make your numbers pretty? If I was to divide this by 3, it's going to be 1/3. And if I divide 4 by 3, it's going to be 4/3. You could do it. It will work, but it's not the easiest way. Okay, but if I was to isolate this, what would all I have to do is? No, I want to get rid of that whole thing.
Plus 2.
All I got to do is plus 2y. So I have x equals positive 2y minus 1. That looks much easier to me. So part of this hardest part is figuring out which one's the easiest to do.
Is this right so far?
So 3y equals 2y minus 1 plus 4. I didn't look at you solving it, but you put it in there right. If you get stuck, go as far as you can.
This guy should be calculated.
Okay, what am I substituting this in for? Guys, it's very important that you don't accidentally put it in for y. Okay, you've got to put it in for x because it says x equals. So I'm substituting it for that. Okay, stop and look and see if you got this far. Yes or no?
Yes.
Did anybody not? And I need to explain. Mr. Solis, are you okay? Yeah? Everybody? Savannah, did you get this far? Because y'all are like kind of just staring. You sure? You're good? Okay. So now I'm going to solve for y over here. How would I solve for y? Well, I got to combine y's with y's and numbers with numbers, right? So what would I do?
Combine negative 1 and 4.
Yep, this can be combined, and this can be moved over here, right? How would I move 2y? Minus 2y. Okay, so 3y minus 2y is just y, 1y. And what is negative 1 plus 4? Done. I solve for y. Now, I want y'all to listen because I want to make your life easier. You now have y. You can go plug in y in this equation and solve, or you can plug it in this equation. This is going to be the easier one because you already have x equals. Do you see what I'm saying? Don't make life harder for yourself. You can do it up here, but you're just going to have to move stuff around more. So I want to go plug in 3 for this y right here. So x equals 2 times 3 minus 1. So x equals 6 minus 1, which is 5. 5 comma 3. Are y'all okay? Turn to the back. Y'all want to try this one on your own?
Yes, no.
What? Okay, well, let me get y'all started. Which one of these equations? Oh, this is supposed to be an equal sign right here. Which one of these equations would be easiest to isolate, and then which term would you isolate? So left or right?
No, right? Wait.
No,
Left.
Okay, why did y'all say left?
Because it equals 0. So you just move the x.
That's not the reason.
Just do minus 2y and you have the x.
Yeah, so over here, they both have a coefficient, which means once I move, I'm still going to have to divide something. So always do the one that if it doesn't have a coefficient. You know a coefficient's the number before the variable, right? There's no coefficient with this x. So it's going to be easiest to isolate this x. So x equals, how would I move this? Negative 2y. Okay. You had to do, stop and look, what am I plugging this in for?
X.
Okay, so 3 times negative 2y. This is where, if it's a lot, you have to do distributive property, but there's only one, so you're okay. Plus 4y equals 4. Make sure you did that right.
You
What's-
have to put the y on negative 2. Is that it?
Well, isn't that what that says? That's a 2. Does this say negative 2y? Then you have to put negative 2y. Okay? 3 times negative 2 is Negative 6, keep my y, plus 4y equals 4. This is where if you're not good at equations, you are going to struggle. This is all moving stuff around, combining and moving. Negative 6 plus 4 is? Negative 2y equals 4, and then divide by negative 2, and you get y equals negative 2. I'm going to circle it. Now what am I going to do with this? Plug it in for, which one would be easiest to plug it into? The one that I've already isolated. Okay, so negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. So 4 comma negative 2. The next one, which one would you use? Why? Because it's already isolated. Now, this is one where you're going to have to do distributive property, and I'm going to tell you why. Both of these numbers are coefficients. Does that make sense? And this is a whole thing. It's not just one number. Okay, so what am I going to plug this in for?
The y.
What? Excuse me?
I mean the x.
Guys, if you mess that up, the whole thing's wrong. X equals, so it's going to go in for x. Now stop and look why a distributive property has to be used. This is saying 2 needs to be multiplied by all of that. Does that make sense to y'all? So put it in parentheses. 4y minus 1 minus 6y equals 2. Anytime there's a coefficient and x has more than one thing going on, you're going to put it in parentheses and do distributive property. So I need to do 2 times 4y and 2 times minus 1. Well, what's 2 times 4? 8 what?
Y.
Okay, what's 2 times minus 1?
Negative 2.
Minus 2. Keep my minus 6y, keep my 2. What can I combine? Y's with y's, and then that's going to have to come over here, right? 8 minus 6 is 2y minus 2 equals 2. And then to get rid of this, I'm going to do plus 2. And so I have 2y equals 4. And then divide by 2. And I get y equals 2. I told y'all were going to love this. Okay, take this 2 and plug it in for that y. So x equals 4 times 2 minus 1. X equals 8 minus 1, which is 7. So 7 comma 2. I'm going to let y'all do the last one completely on your own. No. How would you get rid of that y?
Subtracted.
Oh, let's all do the same thing though. Do y'all want to solve for x or for y?
For x.
Okay, so how would I get rid of the y?
Minus 1.
Okay, so 16 minus y. All right, just so that we're all doing the same thing. Because either one, you could have picked either one of those, right? Right? Yes.
You have to do distributive property.
Yep. Just anytime you want, just put it in parentheses when you're plugging it in, and it'll tell you whether or not you have to do distributive. If you're stuck, I did the first step.
Did you put a decimal?
Okay, make sure you distribute. Oh, I was looking at my notes. I did it the other way. That's why I was like, huh? We'll get the same answer.
Question. On the right, how did you do it? Oh, I'm done my lesson.
Is everybody good with distributive property? Because if you don't understand that, you won't get anything right.
I do. I just put negative 2 times negative 1 and get a negative.
A negative times a negative is a positive. So if you need to, keep change if that helps. We need to move on. Can I move on? Okay, at an ice cream parlor, ice cream cones cost $1.10 and sundaes cost $2.35. One day the receipts, I can't even read that, were for a total of 172 cones and sundaes, and it costed $294.20. How many cones were sold? How many equations do I need to write? 2. Okay? Who can write the money one? 1.1x plus 2.35y has to total to 294.2. How did he get that? Because these are the money, and he said ice cream cones were x, sundaes were y, and the cost of those had to equal that. Who can write the next one? I already know Montserrat has it. Somebody else. It's the easiest one to write. X plus y.
Equals 2.
No, we're not. We're done with money.
172.
172. Because both of those I sold had to equal 172 cones and sundaes. Right here it says both of those sold had to equal that. All right, which one would be easiest to isolate? Yeah, that one, huh? I solved for y. Y equals 172 minus x, or negative x plus 172. It doesn't matter. And then I got to go plug this in for that y. So I have 1.1x plus 2.35 open parentheses. You have to use distributive property, 172 minus x, close parentheses, equals 294.2. All right, 1.1x, I need to distribute this here and this here. Plus $2.35 times 172, I don't know. What can I combine? X's with X's. Make sure that that minus sign goes with that. So 1.1 minus 2.35, which is negative 1.25x, and I still am left with this 404. Okay, now I need to get this over to the other side. And then divide. Am I done? I solved for x.
You have to solve for y.
Now I got to go solve for y by plugging 88 in for x. So I'm just doing 172 minus 88, which is 84. Is that how I should write my answer? Should I write it as a coordinate, or should I write it with words? Yeah, it's a word problem. So I would write, what did we let x represent? The sundaes or the ice cream cones? So 88 cones, 84 sundaes. And sundaes is spelled with ES. It's spelled wrong in that problem. Okay, I'm going to pass out the assignment. And guys, let me pause this. Look at the assignment. Please read the directions in each section. 1 through 6 simply says solve for the indicated variable. Are you doing systems here or just solving for y on number 1? Yeah, so I'm solving for y. Guys, if you choose to go solve for x, you're going to miss it because it said solve for y. What are you solving for on number 4? What are you solving for on 2? Do y'all see what I'm saying? You have to read the directions. So my answer on 1 should be y equals. My answer on 2 should be y equals. My answer on 3 should be x equals. Y'all see what I'm saying? All right, go down to 7 through 12. It says, are y'all reading the directions? Circle the equation you would use to isolate the variable. Do you need to solve anything? Then it says, explain. Guys, if you don't explain, I'm not counting it right. So look at number 7. Which one should I circle? My reason would be x already, you can put already done. It's already isolated. Okay? Go to 13 through 15. This is a problem. That's a problem, like just on your notes. We only separated it to give you room to work it out. On these, they're just like the notes. You're solving for the answer. Okay? So refer to your notes. Turn the page. Same thing back here. This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. The last thing that I wanted to talk to you about is on the EOC. Go to number 4, where it's talking about the recursive. That's the only thing you don't know. All I need to remind you is A sub 1 is your first term. Y'all know that, right? Okay, the last thing I needed to tell you was that this always, if it asks for recursive, always pick the one that says a(n minus 1. If it says anything else, it's not your answer. And then this is your common difference. Okay, there's quite a few questions like that. So right here, what does A1 have to be? What did I just do? Oh, I didn't mean to cross this one out. I crossed out the wrong answer. Okay, A1, the first term has to be what? Okay, so these two are out. And what's the only one that has n minus 1? Yeah, so that has to be my answer. But you can see that the common difference is 4. I crossed out the wrong 2. I was just hurrying. I did it backwards in my head.